good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time you're watching this. It's your host Isaiah of Third and Teal. Little disgruntled more than the preview episode, but that's all right. Um, ready for some football. We got it, and it wasn't what I wanted, but there was some good, there was some bad. I got Brett back on for the reaction. Got some questions for him, some commentary. How you doing today, Brett?
Doing good. It's always sorry that I get to celebrate Victory Monday at your guys' expense, but it was a fun game to watch. Like I said, there's good and bad for both teams. I think for the most part, both fan bases should be optimistic going forward. But yeah, there's definitely some questions that need to be answered on both sides.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Trevor, got you on today. How you doing with this besides computer trouble? All right, we can cut that out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's just a lot going on. It's been busy.
Yeah. Okay. What's up with you, Eric?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Nice and mellow, and ready to talk about this thing that was a game yesterday, and have some fun. And Brett, you been outside? We can tell you've been partying. Look at your hair, man. You got to loose it down or something. Come on now.
Yeah, I after work I usually go for a walk, and it's like I told you before, I live in Pennsylvania. I get all 4 seasons in a day, so I had a hat on backwards, and I do need a haircut right now, but it's definitely a little wild today.
Okay. Understood. Understood. Back to you, Isaiah.
Oh, back to me. All right. Well, yeah, we there was a game played. 3/4 of it was played. Well, part of 3/4 was played by Jacksonville. There was some good, there was some bad. I will say, Tank Bigsby, my prediction almost came true. 72 yards. I was really hoping he'd break that 100 mark so I could at least be happy and right about something, but I wasn't. Trayvon Walker, though, he had a good game. Some other guys to highlight. Devin Lloyd had a good game. What surprised me, though, who do you guys think took the most snaps this game on defense? The answer may surprise you.
Darnell Savage.
I think it's going to be Miles Cole.
Miles Cole?
Yeah, no, I just want to throw something out there. You said something to be surprising, man. Come on, man.
Hey, it's not that surprising. Miles Cole got 11 snaps. It ain't that surprising.
Yeah, and had a couple of tackles.
Darnell Savage is actually in 9th for snaps, really? 49.
So who was
Antonio Johnson with 71 snaps.
Wow.
80.8 run defense grade. 41.2 coverage grade. 29.1 tackling. My question is, how do you have an 80.8 run defense grade and a 29.1 tackling grade?
Because
you can run up and hit somebody and tackle them.
Yeah, exactly.
You just can't tackle them if they catch a football. Like if they get handed the football, you're good. If they catch a football, yeah.
You can't defend what you can't keep up with, or you take bad angles, or you blow your coverage. It's a whole lot of things, and he does a lot of them.
Yeah, blown coverage. That's the next guy. Ronald Burnt Toast Darby. 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 80-yard long, because that touchdown for Tyreek Hill was against him. 158.3 perfect passer rating against Ronald Darby yesterday for Tua. Pretty disappointing to see out of a guy you just paid to come here and be your number 2 guy. Even more disappointing was the fact that we did not see any Jarian Jones.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. We saw him.
Yeah. In fact, the first pass to Tyreek, the first long pass to Tyreek, Jagurs was on him.
No, you're right.
Jarian
how many reps did he get?
Tyreek. It was not very many.
17.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Yeah.
17.
I'm even more surprised by that with the fucking Tyson broke bone bitch Campbell going out again. Not literally broke bone, but
Oh, yeah, Trevor's favorite, Monteric Brown with 19 reps. Mason Smith got 29 reps. I was actually surprised to see how many reps he got.
He did really good with them too, though.
Yeah, he did well. 31 reps for Eric Armstead, so they're kind of, pushing those guys around. Devin Lloyd had a great game. But yeah, man, it's
I love that.
It was a game. So I do want to talk about the game too, not just quote stats and passer ratings that are amazing against players that we have, snap counts, stuff like that. So if you had to give a player of the game on both sides of the ball, I think it's pretty obvious. But player of the game on both sides of the ball, who are you saying, Trevor and Eric? And then I'll get yours as well, Brett, for the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm. Oof. Now that I don't think that one is as obvious as it may seem, but I think that depends. I think it depends on like whether you're, because if you're going based off of like what they could have done for the whole game, it'd be Brian Thomas Jr. and it'd be no doubt about it because he made Jalen Ramsey look like a rookie for a minute. And it's funny that it's something that he actually was quoted saying. Shout out Jordan DeLugo. Shout out Jordan DeLugo. He did say, he was like, Brian Thomas Jr. said post-game that nothing changed about the way the Dolphins were covering him. Nothing. And he was torching them the first half. It was not even close. Jalen had to commit the PI to even close the play back in the end, and he still gave up, obviously, the PI. But if you're doing it based off of, like, just sheer results because they did continue to go to him, it's Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby was on fire. Trevor Lawrence, I think he could have easily been player of the game if they didn't pull back on the reins when we were in the lead. If they would have stayed aggressive with it, this is a whole different ballgame, in my opinion. They stayed aggressive with the play calling. But that's for a later conversation. But I'd have to say, it's all in all, though, it's got to be Tank Bigsby.
Okay. What do you think, Eric?
Well, since you took Tank Bigsby away from me there, Trevor, I'm going to have to go in a different direction. And I'm going to say Gabe Davis, because Gabe Davis made some nice catches, and he is showing that, yeah, he's nobody's shadow. He's doing what he's getting paid to do. Catch him deep in the middle, 16, 15, 16 plus yards. Oh yeah, I can see that.
Aggressive about it.
Yeah, and I can see that becoming a great combination between him, Trevor, and BTJ. Defensively, I love Savage, man. Savage was all over the place, and I think he is one of the bigger reasons why the score what it was at halftime, because he was just all over the place making plays. So that's who I would choose. Okay. And of course, I got to go with Logan Cook, special teams player. Didn't I tell you I was going to come to special teams? I said it last week. This was going to come to special teams. And
both punters had really good games.
Yeah, but Logan was putting Booneman out there, man. So, yeah. So,
honorable mention to Ventrell Miller. I got to say that because Ventrell Miller took one of their return men and threw his ass into the returnee. And got the tackle with it. He used a human being to tackle him.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Shout out Ventrell Miller. That was big dog shit.
Yeah, with a club on his hand. With the club on. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, buddy. All right, we're done.
I think it's pretty obvious to me that Tank Bigsby, I think he was the best player, like consistency-wise, that like across the game got the most reps for offense. And then, I mean, definitely defense. I'm going to give it to Trayvon Walker. I think Lloyd may have had a more complete game, but I think Trayvon Walker made a bigger impact with those 2 sacks because they did lose a lot of yards on those 2 sacks. And I mean, Eric Armstead having some beef in the middle definitely helped that, which we've been talking about all offseason. I'm gonna go Tank Bigsby as well, and Trayvon Walker for this one for me. And what do you think, Brett? Who are y'all's 2 key guys?
So offensively, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to give 2 players. It's going to be Austin Jackson and Terran Armstead, our 2 tackles. Okay. Yeah, Walker did beat Jackson really, really badly once for a sack, but overall, Jackson and Armstead were good enough where they could be put on islands against a very, very good pass rush duo you guys have, and that allowed, as we talked about last week, Dolphin fans are terrified for our interior offensive line, so it allowed us to have Brewer and help Eichenberg or help Robert Jones occasionally. And that makes a huge difference when you feel comfortable enough to have tackles. Oh, not just 1, but 2 tackles on an island. So I'm going to give it to both of them. On defense, he didn't play a lot of snaps, but considering he just came back from an Achilles injury, Jalen Phillips, when he was on the field, he was unblockable. I was happy to see him get the sack. Honestly, it looked like he could have had a 3 or 4 sack game because he was he was beating the offensive whatever lineman he went up against, whether it was Harrison or Robinson, fairly consistently when he was in the game. But he was on a very limited snap count. But he just one of the changes on defense that really helped us was they kind of said screw the snap count, and he was just out there to cause havoc, and it made a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that linebacker number 11. Who's that? Is that Brooks?
That's David Long.
Long.
Yeah, David Long.
Long was all over the place.
Yeah, Brooks is 22. I think the one mistake I saw with Long ended up being a Bigsby 40-yard run from your own 4, where they both shot the same.
Yeah, that was the 26-yard run where he bounced it outside, and that was. But for the most part, though, Long played pretty well. I think Brooks played well. And yes, I mean, definitely one thing there. I think it's kind of one of those things, man, where there were some great plays out there. I know Phillips absolutely just ran past the turnstile that is Cam Robinson. Harrison had a disappointing game, but I think that he's still young. I mean, that's a big thing too. Is he has a disappointing game. He's in his second year. I think he's only 21 or 22 years old in his second year as a right tackle against a really good, efficient front seven that was sending a lot of pressure. I will say, I didn't even realize that Calais Campbell was on the Dolphins, and it did not help that he was getting abused by Mitch Morse and Brandon Sheriff all night. I mean, he did absolutely nothing for the most of the night. Getting past between those two guys, and I didn't realize until after the game I saw a clip of him and Ramsey running out of the tunnel together, and I was like, oh, I didn't even notice he was out there. He played a lot of snaps too, but
first snap of the game he got a sack, and that was basically all he did.
Yeah,
that's the only thing he did.
I'm pretty sure he got that against Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. He was on the right side, left side of the line for us, right side for you guys, because I know Mitch Morse and Sheriff combined for zero pressures. Now in the run game, they weren't amazing, but what's up?
I would say that was just miscommunication because both of them blocked down, and that just left Calais there by himself. So he ain't doing that much charge.
Yeah, I didn't see that play. I
I
was kind of in and out trying to get the TV hooked up, but
because I remember that one because first thing I said was, man, we ain't finna start this already, are we? And I went back and looked at it, and both of them, for some reason, they both blocked down. And Calais was right there.
Yeah, he was just ready for it.
Yeah. I say they had just signed him last week, I think, and he's already making the first play. Ain't that something? Wish I had some money. Anyway.
Now, I will say, I think that the offensive line played a lot better than I expected. And I think the offensive line played well enough for us to win that game, honestly. I think that a combination of the ETN fumble completely deflating us because then the next play, an 80-yard Tyreek Hill touchdown. And then the fact that we just, after that play, we had 8 run calls and 3 pass plays, and 2 of them were sacks and 1 was an incomplete pass. You really don't give your quarterback a great opportunity to take over a football game and go down and win it when you won't even let him throw the ball. Now, do I think Trevor Lawrence sits there and hands off the ball every play in another game, like in the future this year, if that's something like that happens? No, I think he checks it and starts calling his own plays. I'll be honest with you.
And he did it a couple times, actually.
I think he's tired of it. I think he is. But I will say the Dolphins defense came up big. I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't. They played well. Now, the Javon Holland, I talked about him before the game. That was a beautiful textbook punch out. I will not take anything from Javon Holland. But when you are considered to be a top 5 running back in the league, depending on what you look at and the stats he's had last year, the most hit in the backfield running back last season by a long shot. And I think he only fumbled like 1 time last year, if that, after a year before where he was fumbling every play. You've got to hold on to that football on the 1-yard line there, man. You cannot let that happen.
If that touchdown takes place, that's the game. Honestly,
yeah, I mean, it's a very good chance. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd agree. I would agree.
And that's Javon Holland. Like, one thing, I'm more critical on Javon Holland than most Dolphin fans just because, and he is really good, but I think if you want to get paid what he wants to get paid, you have to make more impact plays. He's very sound. He does not let up big plays, but if you're going to pay a safety big money, you want them to make a lot of big plays. The one thing he does have a history of doing is causing timely fumbles. And that's just his game. He's always punching for the ball, but that has also resulted in missing some tackles occasionally too. As a Dolphins fan, the thing I was shocked by, and I know ETN is like a very good running back, but he didn't have much going on, while Tank Bigsby, whenever he was in, Dolphins couldn't stop him. And sometimes with the running game, you have to ride the hot hand, and I think that was a big mistake by Jacksonville to do that. And we can talk about he ran too much. It was working, but it was working with Bigsby. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what changes from the All-22 Anthony Weaver made, because whatever it is, and why I had some questions about what Jacksonville did in the second half, they gave up nothing. And yes, part of that is the fumble, but gave up 17 in the first half, nothing in the second half. Adjustments had to have happened. So I'm just curious to look and see what they were.
Well, I can tell you, Miami got a little bit more aggressive defensively. They really did. They started bringing more. Yeah.
Well, one thing also is,
and then with us just running the ball all the time, we running right into the blitz. So creating headaches for ourselves.
The one thing I do know is early on. Sorry about that. Ramsey had a pitch count to start the game. After the touchdown to BTJ, they took the pitch count off, or at least at halftime they took it off, and Ramsey was shadowing. I believe he was shadowing BTJ the rest of the game. And
they lined up 29 or 39, whichever it is. They lined him up on him every once in a while.
That would be Fuller.
But yeah, they did have Fuller on him a couple of times, and actually led to a couple of decent plays. But yeah, I mean, that definitely Ramsey. We saw a lot more of him in the second half.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw this stat for Lawrence. I just saw it retweeted last night. But in terms of attempts, Trevor did not attempt a single pass to anybody who wasn't at least a yard open. I don't know what that means. I don't know, in terms of how he normally plays, but it tells me that Miami stopped doing zone strictly with the outside corners and went more to man and just did zone in the middle of the field is what I guess. But it is interesting because the narrative that came from that is that people didn't feel Trevor was aggressive enough when he had a chance, which I don't necessarily agree with, because
it's not
first drive you get a 33-yard catch.
Yeah, I mean, he beamed Evan Ingram in the chest for a first down. He fucking dropped it. He hit fucking Christian Kirk with a first down. He dropped that too.
Yep.
We got people that are making too much damn money to be dropping fucking footballs.
Yep.
Well, that's interesting too, because that Evan Ingram one where Evan Ingram dropped it, that defensive player was on him the whole time. He was touching him whenever he threw that ball. So but for the most part though, for the most part though, most receivers did have at least a step on the player they were playing against whenever he threw the ball.
And I think that comes back to play call too, though, because while I agree that Miami tightened up and they got more aggressive, I'm not going to take away what they did. They won the game, props to them. They kept their heads in it, and they just fucking won. They took it in the end. Good fucking play for them. It was good play by them. They earned that win. I think that Doug Peterson and Press Taylor lost us this fucking game entirely. And the reason I think that is because, like I said, Trevor Lawrence, in the first half, when you let him fucking do what he needed to do, the Dolphins were cooked. It was over. It did not matter. Because whether or not we were running, the run was working with Tank Bigsby. We should have kept the ball in his hands because y'all couldn't stop him. That was obvious. Nobody could stop him. And that led to Trevor being able to drop back in the pocket, and he didn't have to throw to people that were less than a yard open because everybody was fucking open.
My point. Exactly.
Everyone was open. And I'm not saying, not literally every receiver, but, most of the big catches, they were by themselves.
Yeah.
They were standing on their own. He didn't have to. So, while I know you didn't say that, I know you personally aren't saying that he wasn't aggressive enough. I'll say that I don't think Doug Peterson and Press Taylor were aggressive enough. They should have kept their fucking foot on the throttle for the rest of the game. It was ridiculous. Let's pull the reins back. Let's feed it to Travis. Fuck that. Travis isn't doing it. I
would agree that it reminded me of when we were coached by Tony Sperano. Great offensive line coach, but when he was our coach, he wanted to get a lead and then he wanted to take the air out of the ball. And sometimes you have to do that, and I respect it. But watching it too is watching us, no matter how bad we are, when you have Waddle and Tyreek, it's lightning in a bottle. We're going to score, as we saw. 2 big plays out of nowhere when we couldn't do anything. So you can't just take the air of the ball. You have to be aggressive. That doesn't mean go for it on 4th and 2 at your own 30-yard line type of aggressive, which I was very shocked they did. But the other thing I will say, and Mike McDaniel said this after the game, the last 2 years since he's been there, we would lose these games because, and I think sometimes Dolphin fans live in our own bubble. I don't think they realize most of the NFL fandom will say, if you punch Miami in the mouth, they won't punch back. So from a silver lining, I will say this is Miami learning how to win the gritty games. On the Jaguar side, and I said this after you logged off, Trevor, is I felt that the team 2 years ago, you guys got to the playoffs a year early, which made people think, okay, we're closer than we were. They made some moves that didn't work out. I think now you are at the point where Miami was the last 2 years, where you now have to learn to win these gritty games. I think you guys had a couple of the gritty wins last year too. I think Buffalo was a gritty win, but to me, it's just a young team who's still, I think, trying to find their way and probably has a coach on the hot seat. They're still trying to figure out the best way to do it. But I think your front seven is probably the best in your division. So I think it's going to keep you in the game. So I came away very impressed with the Jaguars. I just think offensively they still don't know what they want to do.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy because like you've got the tape now to see that we can. And I'm not trying. It's not even trying to sound cocky, but it's like Miami is one of the best teams in the league. That's not something that can be just thrown away. They didn't make the playoffs consecutively for no reason. They're not the best offense in the league for no reason. There's a reason that they are always in these conversations. They belong there. And we did whatever the hell we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Why did we pull the reins back? That's the only thing I can think of. And then you choose to be aggressive, like you said, on a 4th and 3 on Arthur. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just honestly, that's just literally you gave the game away. Like I don't understand. Like I'm not saying the Dolphins didn't earn it because they did. Yeah. They absolutely earned it, but we gave it to them in the same sense as well. Like we held the most electric offense in the league to a shutout damn near before halftime.
Okay, they don't. Sorry, I just wanted to see which I'm going to play this because, I have to. But sometimes NFL's weird and they will like blur these or like make it. But I think all 22 is good as long as you're using it for educational purposes. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence, we're going to see it on this play, just needs to not look when he's throwing the football. And I say that because look where he's looking. That absolutely pulled this safety off over here because he's looking over the middle. No look pass to BTJ. That's the touchdown.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Richardson's 50-yard throw where he almost falls over, that's the best throw you'll see on Sunday.
Absolutely. But I also wanted to bring this up. And there were a lot of people saying that too. And I think, Richardson's throw, great throw. I'm not going to try and take that from him. That's not the one. But he definitely, there it is, Storm Duck. Love the Storm Duck tackle. Hate the Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne had no vision this game. Like, if you watch this right here, which we're going to watch the end zone angle as well. Like, right in here was open, and it's even more obvious.
Yeah, that was the lane. Yeah, that was the lane right there.
Oh, yeah, watch this. Like, it's even more obvious from this angle because you come right here.
Look at this hole.
Yeah.
There is 5-10 yards worth of hole there to cut back, and this guy's getting up off the ground. Cut right off this dude's ass. That's at least another 4 or 5 yards or a touchdown if you can hold on to the fucking football. But he runs straight into Storm Duck right here, going for his legs, and he
stares him down too. It's like that's the crazy part. He stared him into the tackle and did nothing to avoid it.
No vision, dude. Like all game, you got guys like Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby was bouncing him outside. It wasn't like he was hitting the hole he was supposed to go in. I think ETN was too worried about hitting the hole he's supposed to go through, and Bigsby was worried about running the fucking football, and it showed up. And honestly, Miami, again, Miami's defense is no slouch. They have those 2 linebackers that were playing really well. Which of course, like you mentioned earlier, David Long led to a couple plays that were, or he led to that one play where Bigsby bounced it outside. But it's not like anything really changed. Like the Dolphins started stopping us later in the game because for some reason we were running it outside and having success, and then we started running right up the middle. And they put pressure on us, and it sure as hell worked, and we just couldn't adjust. Yeah, man. It was, yeah.
From our side, and I said this beforehand, we had the it was frustrating to watch, but Mike McDaniel's game plan was Jaguars front seven's fast, get to the outside, get them chasing us. Was overdone. Now there were a couple plays from screens that could have been more than they were. Etienne had a really long screen in the first or second drive, I believe. There was one that Jonnu Smith dropped that I did see the all 22 for that, and if he would have caught that, it could have been a touchdown. So the game plan made sense, but it was still frustrating, and you could definitely see, and I've said this before, where the Dolphins did not play their starters in preseason. I think that showed. And that was frustrating. But towards the end of the game, you started to see a little bit because you guys were stop and run the whole game. And I'm in our Discord, people are going, our O-line's is playing horrible. They can't block anybody. I thought the O-line played well. Like I did watching this game, I did not come out of it thinking, oh, our offensive line struggled. Like you guys your D-line won their fair share of battles too. But I just saw like when there were holes, Devin Lloyd, I forget your middle linebacker's name. Anytime there was a hole, as soon as our guys cut for it, it was closed by one of your linebackers. And that's just 100% like give credit to a very fast, very good defense. Sometimes, and again with the running game, sometimes you just have to stay committed. And the Dolphins really didn't commit to it again until we needed to at the end of the game, where out of nowhere we decided to put Alec Ingold and Jeff Wilson in the backfield and just run out of the I formation, and it worked against a tired defense. So from my point, it's frustrating because I think the best way to help an offensive line is to run the ball more. But I understand the game plan, and it ultimately worked. But yeah, like I said before, I definitely came out thinking, and I kind of thought this beforehand, I think the Jaguars are actually a coach away from being very, very dangerous.
I definitely think that now. Because I'm not going to pretend like I got to watch the whole presser yet. I haven't finished Doug Peterson's most recent presser. But from some of the comments I've been seeing, he made some sort of inkling that this is on the defense.
No. Okay. I mentioned that before the show. I went back and watched it. What had happened was, and he is 100% in his right to say what he said. People are taking it out of context. They asked about the Waddle and the Tyreek Hill plays.
Oh, yeah, then yeah.
And he asked what went wrong, and he said those guys need to be coached better. They were running those plays all game. And literally the two times that happened, the one, I mean, Cisco was playing shallow, and and he bit on the underneath route, and Waddle came over the top of him. And the other one, he was playing shallow and didn't follow for Hill and go deeper. He was 100% right on that. Because I went back and watched it, and I've been watching the ultimate too. So he was actually right on that. He wasn't calling out the defensive coaches saying they're terrible. He was literally saying they just need to be coached better on those two plays. That was specifically what he was responding to, and he's absolutely right because Cisco bit on one of them and was playing shallow.
Cisco got cooked like twice on that, just biting too quickly and not playing deep enough. And it's crazy. You think about that. How can you not play deep enough against this fucking offense? Like, they've got two of the fastest receivers in the league, dude. If anything, you should be getting caught playing a little too deep sometimes and maybe giving up some underneath stuff. What are you doing? Like, how are we not playing too deep? Who are you trying to fool with the shadow down low? Like,
see, that's what it was. The eye candy. I talked about last week. The eye candy, man.
And I get the premise that you make Tua think, oh, they fucked up. They dropped too low. But you got to get back. You gotta get back. Yeah. You gotta finish the fake. But I will say this one thing that's still concerning me, and I don't see enough people really talking about it. Doug Peterson said in preseason that they got no advantage from not telling us who the play caller is, but still has not fucking told us who the play caller is. Who is calling this shit show that we called a second half? Who the fuck did that?
I think it was Doug Peterson. If I'm being 100%,
I do
honest
too.
With you.
I do.
I don't think he'd have been as defensive because they asked him like, what do you think happened in the second half? Did you guys get less aggressive? And he immediately goes to that 90 whatever yard drive where Etienne fumbled, 99 yards, whatever it was. We had like a 98-yard drive. That doesn't look aggressive to you? And he's like talking about that drive and wouldn't talk about anything else.
Yeah, that drive, they kept the aggression. I'm not going to lie.
When DeLugo asked the question about like, was it a decisive move or was it intentional? Like, running the ball so much, that's whenever he got defensive and was like, oh, our offensive line took over the game. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, Not when
No.
you have 8 runs in a row, stop for 2 yards or less.
Yeah, and he's got Bill Belichick licking his lips right now. Crazy. I'm gonna tell you right now, though. I was about to say I really hope not, personally, but I will say though, I do think there is Dougie P gets a lot of hate for some shit that he shouldn't, and he doesn't get enough hate for the shit that he should. But I will say this though. Honest to God, I don't know what the fuck Press Taylor has on Doug Peterson, but it's got to be something good. All right. But I think we're one Press Taylor and a real offensive coordinator away from being extremely dangerous. Because I'll say this, Doug Peterson does know what works. He does know what works. He tries to get too cutesy and over-involving a Press Taylor that I do think is at times abysmally bad. Sometimes he's good, and then it's just Doug Peterson being a retard. But if Doug Peterson would get a competent offensive coordinator like we have in Ryan Nielsen for the defense and just gave more of an advisory role and overwatching the whole game, I don't think we'd have those fucking delay of game shits either. That was unacceptable as well. Like, what are we doing? This is not Pop Warner. What is going on? And I think if Doug Peterson's watching the game and paying attention to the situation of the game and letting a competent coordinator run his own offense, we're an extremely dangerous team. I think we've just got people that try to get too cute with a dangerous team that they should have never underestimated in the second half just because we had a lead. And it's not, I'll give them this. Maybe not try to air the ball out for 80-yard bombs anymore. I get that. The risk reward's not there because at this point we are dominating the game. At this particular point, we're dominating the game. Maybe not do the high risk reward 80-yard bomb. But if you see, this has Press Taylor, Doug Peterson written all fucking over it. I say it every time. Let's run the ball up the gut for no fucking reason. I hate that shit. And it kills us every time. Every time.
Every time I see it, I think about Trevor and that right there.
Kills me, dude.
Yeah, I can't speak too much to Press Taylor and Doug Peterson from that end, but I do know because our head coach calls the plays, but they'll say, and Frank Smith's our offensive coordinator. He was offensive line coach and with the Chargers. He was tight end coach with the Raiders. McDaniel will always say that the big thing Frank Smith does is he'll tell Mike McDaniel no. Like he'll say, no, coach, that doesn't work, or we got to do this. And if you have a head coach that is going to call plays, you need that. But it's not just him either. Wes Welker's very involved, and he'll say, no, we need this. Eric Studesville's very involved. So, yeah, it just sounds like you said, like with the offensive coordinator, just looking at it, just sounds like it's – to say that the offensive staff is a bunch of sycophants is unfair, especially because I don't know it. But it sounds like there's not enough differing voices to go away from it.
You could say it's okay. It's fair.
Okay.
I know you don't know, but I know.
All right, so we'll say your offensive staff is a bunch of sycophants.
Yeah, they're retarded. They're retarded. Like, how do you see? Like, first of all, this is my biggest question. This is my biggest question. Okay,
I'm gonna have an answer for you.
How in the fuck do you see a Brian Thomas Jr. and no disrespect to Jalen Ramsey? Ask the guys on the show. I love Jalen. His jersey's still hanging on the wall. I love Jalen Ramsey. Okay, but you see Brian Thomas Jr. fry his ass. It was not even a little bit. It was bad. Like he cooked him multiple times. He had like one target in the second half.
Yeah.
How does this happen? He's taking the game over. Like Brian Thomas Jr. was like, this is my welcome to the NFL moment. I'm cooking one of the best corners in the entire league. And you give me one target in the second half.
Well, sorry, guys, my team was going in and out. I'm still here though.
Oh, you're good, man.
Well, you still got that name for recommendation, right? And then you got to think about it. What everybody been complaining about with Trevor. Turnovers.
And he didn't turn it over.
Well, that's right. He didn't. But I mean, I said they were complaining about it. So, sometimes that do get in your mind. Okay, I'm not going to really throw it over there, even though he is beating him. Yeah, just my lucky interceptor.
I think Trevor showed us that wasn't what he was dealing with. And the reason I say that is that back of the end zone pass is an incredibly difficult pass.
Of course it is.
Dude, no, that pass is stupid difficult. Because if you look at where Brian Thomas Jr. was, as a matter of fact, Isaiah, you could probably see it. Like NFL posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
It shows the back area where BTJ is when he released it versus where he ends up.
Ends up
That
right.
pass is so incredibly difficult. If he was having even the least bit of gun shyness because he was worried about turnovers, no way he's slinging that ball.
Well, no, I'm talking about after that pass.
I don't even
After
think
the
I
second
really
half.
I think they just took the ball out of his hand.
Well, that too. Apparently
They were just trying to go for first down.
Yeah.
And I think we made that too blatantly obvious. Yeah, dude. Oh,
See,
first of all,
stop it right here. Just stop it right here for a moment, Isaiah. Stop it. Now look, you see the formation, right? You see the defense. So we already got advantage already. Go ahead, start it, man. Start it.
Just look at this. Look at this.
Ball is out.
Oh, keep
Look at
going.
that.
Let it go.
That's a dot, dude. That is a dot and a half. All right, like insane. It is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and he got defensive about that too. Peterson did.
And look at this. Look at this. Look, Jalen, all of them. They're just like eyeballs gone.
Yeah.
And they even just threw their hands up because they didn't even realize he was behind them. Ball went right over their head. It was a beautiful play. I think what we saw from Trevor was that same touch we were talking about in preseason that we had never seen him throw with.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trevor was accurate.
Right.
There was a couple of times he got a little excited, went a little high. Just a couple of times, but nothing dangerous. Nothing dangerous.
I think,
and I recall one play specifically that stuck out to me that I said, "This is it. Trevor Lawrence is arriving now." Like I think he's like fully stepping into this. He goes like this and pulls it back down. And
Yeah,
he pulled it
sack
back
at the end of the game.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a sack. I'm talking about he actually ran this one up the field.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about.
He goes like this, dude. He gets the ball full right here, and then just sees something last second and sticks that thing and pulls it back in. That is a pass Trevor Lawrence was going for a pick last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It's to Evan Ingram. He faked. He which that one he was staring right at fucking Evan Ingram. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Which I think the staring problem is exactly what Eric was saying.
Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
But no.
But I think
Chop Robinson on Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this too.
Action.
Listen to you guys talk. This reminds me of when we hired Mike McDaniel too, and the first thing he did was he just made like a 20. I think they said an hour or 2 hour cut up of everything that Tua could do with the ball, and said, "You don't know how good you can be." And like it came out, and like you see this, he just destroyed. And that was a very good decision by Trevor.
Yes, it was. It was beautiful.
But what I was getting at is Brian Flores tore down Tua to the point where people thought Tua sucked. Mike McDaniel came in and empowered him right away, and you saw dividends. How good Tua is, everybody can debate, but he's had 2 years as a starter, fifth overall offense, first overall offense. More I'm hearing you guys talking and just watching the game, the Jaguars need to get someone in who will empower Trevor Lawrence like Mike McDaniel has done for Tua. I will still say I do not trust Gabe Davis for you guys just from watching him and having him on my fantasy team for 2 years in a row. So I don't always trust him, but you guys definitely do have the talent. You just need it just feels like Doug Peterson just feels almost like a relic with the offense, with how he calls the offense or how Press Taylor calls the offense. It just feels like your offense needs to be modernized.
And you know what's crazy that you say that? It's wild you say that.
That's legit right there.
It is legit. But what's crazy is like, dude, those gritty games that we do pull off, we look like some hybrid offense that you probably have never even seen. They pull some plays out of their ass that I don't even think they probably even have a name for, other than literally they probably just scribbled something down on a notepad. Like the thing is, I don't know if it's Doug Peterson's really trying to make Press Taylor that guy, which is what I personally believe it is. I think he's really trying to groom him into the offensive coordinator that everyone's saying he is. And then at the same time, he's trying to instill the basics of football. It feels like Doug Peterson's trying to teach a toddler to run an offense, is what it feels like essentially. Because I know when Doug Peterson, when he knows that it's all on the line, it does not matter, He has no problem pulling the trigger. Now, this game, don't know what the fuck happened. I'd love to know. I'd love to know what happened. But, I mean, 9 out of 10, like, look at the Chargers game. Look at the Chargers game in the playoffs. That's a perfect example. They let Trevor pull the trigger when and where he wanted to, despite the picks. Either 3 of them. 3 of them. Yeah. We were down bad, dude. And the season was over if we didn't pull this out. And Trevor just goes to work on him. Because the defense forced no turnovers.
Who called that second half?
Press Taylor.
I think, and this is going to be a controversial opinion, I think if you let Press Taylor call the offense and Doug Peterson takes his hands out of it, we're a much better team. I 100% think we are, because if you look at the preseason, and they said Press was calling plays all preseason, we were very aggressive.
Yeah.
Very aggressive. We were throwing the ball all over the place. And if we were running the ball and it wasn't working, we stopped running the ball. I think that Doug Peterson is meddling too much. I think that if you take out Doug Peterson's aggression in the Miami game, I think we have a better chance, because Logan Cook was nailing him inside the 20-yard line every time he punted the football.
Yeah, that 4th and 3 was a nail. That one was a big nail.
Absolutely no reason for that. I think if you take out his aggression, that gives us time to reset. We're kicking the ball deep. The defense doesn't start with their backs on, with the safeties lining up at the 10-yard line. Honestly, I think that Doug Peterson gets in the way, because he has to be that aggressive coach that he was in Philly, that like won them the Super Bowl, whatever. He has to be that guy. I think he gets in the way a lot more than people admit. And I think that it's too easy to blame Press Taylor, because, they came out and said he was the one calling the plays. But if you watch on the sidelines, Press Taylor is almost never talking. It's always Doug Peterson with the play sheet in front of his mouth talking behind
him.
Yeah,
he is always doing that. And I pointed that out. You pointed that out at the beginning of our show. Like, when we first started recording, we had your bit about defending Press Taylor, because I will say, like, I'll give you this. Like, I think one day, if Press Taylor was away from Doug Peterson, I think Press Taylor could be a good offensive coordinator. I do. I think, though, I will say, I do remember plenty of occasions last year where he was calling the plays and we were stagnant. We looked disgusting. It was horrible. And then Doug Peterson would say, yeah, I took the play calling over in the second half and we went fucking fire. Like, we went hot. I think it's give or take on any given Sunday which one of them is going to have it.
He never admitted to that.
He did. Yeah, he admitted to calling the plays in the second half.
Doug Peterson never said he called the plays. He said it was Press Taylor all last season.
No, he said Press Taylor started all the games. He called the plays in the second half of one game, and they asked him. They said, "Was this you?" And he said, "I may have thrown some of my own bits and pieces in there." And then they kept asking him and kept pressing him, and he was like, "Well, I called this play on this play." And
the bits and pieces were on 4th down when we had that turnover. That was me.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, it doesn't. The point still is, I think it's any given Sunday which one of them could have the hot hand, because. But they meddle with each other too much. I think you're absolutely right. They're not good for each other together in an offensive scheme. They're just not. One of them's got to go. I mean, this
both
point,
of them are going to go at this rate.
I think so too. But I'll tell you this: if we drop another game this Sunday to Cleveland, one of them's fucked at the end of the year, unless we just completely win out and go fucking stupid. But if we drop a second game in a row after doing what we were able to do to Miami and giving that game away. If something similar happens, they're fucked.
Yeah, there may have to be a meeting in the White House then.
Explain what's going on. And I just want to know, like, why are you not telling us who's calling plays? Like, we're still speculating. We're pretty sure we know. But, like, why is this a speculation?
I think that's why he's so upset, is because I think he was the one calling plays this game.
Yeah, but the thing that pisses me off is I pay a shitload of money to this team for, like, my seats, for merchandising, for, like, the accessibility to watch these fucking games. I deserve to know who's calling the fucking plays, pal. Like, I'm not like a majority owner, but damn it, I have invested enough money. I should know who's calling the plays here.
That's right. And emotional baggage and what have you. Yeah, you're right, Trevor. We want to know. We want to know.
I'm going to my 4th year as a season ticket holder, man.
I know you're paying, though. I do know you're paying. I ain't gonna
Before we got Mike McDaniel, we didn't know who was calling the plays either. We had co-offensive coordinators and a passing game coordinator, and no one could, not even the people who had the titles knew who was calling the plays.
We lost old Cooter, man. Jim Bob Cooter left, and it all fell apart.
Yeah.
but you know, come to think about it, yeah. But then again, there were a few drop passes that could have sustained some drives that. That shouldn't have happened.
Oh no, yeah.
There was at least 30 yards and 3 first downs left on the field that game.
Yeah, at least. And not to mention the big 7-point that I think would have changed the whole momentum of that second half.
Yeah, because Miami was slowly gaining momentum and before Travis fumbled, but that long drive took the wind right back out of him.
Right.
And if Travis would have punched that in, if he punches that in, I don't say that Miami doesn't rally and still score, but I will say I don't think Miami comes back and wins.
Thank you.
Well,
that's the part.
Even if my thing is, and Brett, you can chime in on this too, but I think we score there. Even if Tyreek Hill comes out and has that 75, 80-yard touchdown, it's not as much of a punch in the gut as fumble on the 1-yard line into the end zone, then an 80-yard touchdown immediately after.
Yeah.
Now, Miami still gets some momentum on a big touchdown like that. I don't think that stops Tyreek Hill from scoring because clearly our safety couldn't help it. But
look, I'm gonna tell you when that happened, and Miami was getting ready to offense. I said, now please remember the golden rule. After a big turnover comes the big play. And next thing you know, there goes Tyreek. Like, God damn, how did y'all not figure this out? This is what they were gonna do.
Well, it pissed me off. It was the same route that gave him the deep bomb earlier.
Yeah.
Just the other way.
If you go back and look at the game, they were running the same routes over and over, just in different combinations. When Landry caught his, Tyreek was underneath running a little curl underneath or drag, and that's why 3 of them went toward Tyreek, and then Landry just came across the back end, wide open. And when Darby realized that, he tried to catch him, but he doesn't have the speed for that. So
Darby's getting cooked.
But like I say, those are coachable things. It could be realized. It's just when you saw it, you immediately thought about the Houston game last year with C.J. Stroud and that crap going on. That's the first thing that came to mind. I'm like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, it was one bad play after another that let them take
we are not doing this. Yeah. And basically that would happen. It's like an avalanche. You up by 10, and this team can score at a wink, the wink of an eye, and all of a sudden you going in to make it a 17-point lead, 14-point, 17-point lead. Yeah, 17-point lead. Then all of a sudden you up by only 3. What in the hell? In 2 plays. And that's all it was, 2 plays. Now the defense got a little bit more pressure on them because now we got to really work to stop them. Offense, we don't know what the hell happened to offense. They just went into slumberland or something. I have no idea. And the defense just was tired. I don't care what nobody say. You out there on the field in that summer, that heat, because it's still hot and humidity, man. And you keep going back and forth on that field because it's hotter on the field than most people believe it is. Man, you get tired after a while. And if you look at them, you take a play from the first quarter and put it in the forward, you can tell the actual response difference and the speed that they were running at. They just didn't have it anymore. So, being unproductive on offense, sometimes your defense has to pay the price because of it. Because they just not getting the rest. Even if you are rotating.
Which we did a lot of.
Yeah. Eventually you're just going to get tired because that's human nature.
Yep.
Bad complimentary football.
Yeah. Exactly.
Uncomplimentary football.
Hell, I wanted to see Cam Little get out there and kick a 63-yarder for the win.
I'm not gonna lie. I'd have loved to see it. Isaiah still got a line on it for this season.
Yeah. I wanted to see it. I'm like, okay, that'll be perfect.
I went back and watched it. They were almost, there was only one route that was different, but they were almost the identical play that Waddle had the 63 yard on and Hill had the 80 yard on, almost the exact same play. And it was like 5 or 6 plays separated.
Look, to be honest with you, there was another route that was run, and I think Tua chose to throw it to the inside tight end. But it was another route with that combination. There was a wheel route. And
then he was wide open by himself.
I mean, wide open. Wide open. And
Tua just
good thing Tua didn't see it.
That was Chosen or whatever,
Chosen was right there by himself.
Yeah, because I remember when I saw it, I said, "Oh my God, ain't nobody over there." And you just saw him running.
Yeah, some of
Yeah.
those are also, like I said, a lot of the routes are window dressing. So he may have been open, but he may not have even been an actual
Right.
read.
Exactly.
And you talked about that too in the that Tua's throwing to spots and he's throwing to certain people. And now I do think Tua read the field pretty well this game. I think he read the field better than he has. I do
He
think
went to a lot of second and third reads this.
There were definitely some plays where you could tell that was first read and that was where he was supposed to throw the football. But I will say, as the game went on and he got more comfortable, he definitely was making a lot better reads and multiple reads on plays.
Yeah, and it's the thing where until our offensive line, until they prove they can be A, healthy, and B, consistent, it's going to be a question mark. Even with, I think, 4 of our offensive linemen, PFF gave grades over 70, 2 over 80. One we had was like a 55, Robert Jones, our left guard, which I thought he was by far our worst offensive lineman. Even with all that, Tua still had the third least amount of time in the NFL on Sunday to throw the ball. So it's one of those things that's like, well, is the offensive line good, or are we just getting the ball out too quick? It's probably somewhere in between. But until we consistently show that they're able to perform, it's going to be a worry for everybody. I'm on Twitter today, and Dolphin fan, even after a good game, Dolphin fans are still complaining we didn't draft Graham Barton. So
yeah.
Oh, everybody's on Facebook and Instagram talking about we need to get rid of Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I swear to God, every game they're always coming for Trevor Lawrence. They're brain dead. Brain dead. If you I'm going to say it right now for everybody that's watching. If you think Trevor Lawrence was the problem, stop fucking watching. Turn your shit off and get rid of all your gear. Stop watching football.
They're not going to do that.
Well, I think that's
I got to say this real quick. Fuck Trent Baalke. I'm not saying it's completely his fault, but Terrell Edmonds just got signed by the fucking Steelers because you wouldn't put him on the active roster, you fucking bitch, and now it's biting us in the ass.
He was on the active roster. We put him back
he got
on the
activated. No, he got activated. So that means he goes
just for the game. That's right. So he played 6 snaps. Played kind of bad, but
no, he would have been all right.
But
yeah, I think you had logged off when I said this. I'm not the biggest Trent Baalke fan in the world. I think he is I think he's way too much about the measurables, not always, which I get it. You have to be fairly athletic in the NFL. You can't just go fully, but I feel like he overemphasizes that over even film. And I think his drafts with the Niners prove it. I think he's had 2 drafts as your guys' GM.
Yes.
4.
Okay.
He's
I would need to look.
4.
Yeah,
I will say he's actually this past year. I think he actually kind of cooked. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we've been talking about this all off season, leading into this season. That this is definitely the most wise version of Trent Baalke that I think we have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will agree with you. In years past, he's sometimes, I think, stupid. That's the best way to put it. Sometimes you're just stupid. But I will say though, this past year, man, I think he did a really good job catering to both sides of the ball. And despite the loss, I still think that showed on Sunday. I think that we showed that we are once again a threat. Excuse me. I think that we showed, because again, I'm not trying to discredit Miami because they earned that win through and through. They earned it. But I absolutely think that was our game to lose because we walked in and we took the game. Now, for whatever reason, we gave it back. And it was a choice. It was a choice, because who does that? But, I think everything that Trent Baalke did in the offseason showed, the hiring of, well, that's him and Doug, but the hiring of, Ryan Nielsen, I think he was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect fit. Perfect. Because our defense is elite, at least from what we saw yesterday. What they gave up when they're burnt out and tired. I can't blame them. I mean, our offense is going 3 and out every time they touch the field, and they're right back on for fucking 20 minutes.
So because I mentioned I made that claim. So 1st and 10, Tua Tagovailoa to Waddle for 63 yards. Then there were 3 plays, and then they were back on offense. We had a 3 and out, and then the 80-yard touchdown to Hill. They were just gassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're tired.
Yep. And then we had another 3 out, another 3 and out. You know, you can't really blame the defense for that. But
Nope.
I think that's a good stopping point, though. I think we talked about a lot. Thanks for coming back on, Brett.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, man.
You wanna come on and shit talk AFC East teams?
Don't have
go
to
ahead, dude.
Will do. You don't have to convince me twice to do that.
You are welcome. I don't know any fans of those other teams that I even like. So if you want to come back on, you're always welcome. Thanks for thanks for coming on, man. And thank you guys as always for being here. The regulars, my boys. And anything else anybody wants to say? Any closing statements or anything?
Yeah, I know. Okay, before that, Worm, what's going on? We missed you last time.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. So, Worm, what's going on?
Shout out Worm.
All right.
Shout out Worm. That's my fault.
Okay, now we good.
All right.